I
All right.
was I was also a volunteer coordinator for a local refugee center for a number of years too in the late 90s. So we're just going to go around our little Zoom room here. And Dr. Latresa, I see you next to me, so I'm going to call on you next.
Well, hi everyone. Dr. Latrissa Nyworth here. I'm usually in Lane County, where I'm the Dean of the Professional Studies College at Bushnell University, which covers education and business. But today I'm down at Pepperdine, where I'm teaching my doctoral students. So I've got a class that actually starts at 12. It's from 12 to 7. So I'll be kind of in and out. I'll still have you on, but you just recognize that when we have different times that we're working on things, I'll be able to be more active. But anyway, I'm super happy to be here. I'm one of the new board members, so thank you.
Welcome, Doctor. It's great to have you on board as a new commission member. Thank you for joining us. And Liz put in the chat that she's having some audio issues. So Liz Groner, staff member at Rare AmeriCorps program, and just listening today. Thank you, Liz, for being here. And we love Rare and the work that you're doing there. Jayesh, I'm going to call on you next.
Sure. Yeah, Jayesh Palshikar. I'm the let's see, I'm a member of the volunteer sector. And I probably am only gonna attend a part of the meeting today because I worked last night and worked tonight, and I'm dead tired. But and I yeah, so I'm boy, finishing a second term with Heidi here. My first uh my connection with AmeriCorps is that I served in the inaugural year back from 94 to 95. And then I was very kind of interested when when there was an opportunity to get involved and support other programs. So I'm excited to keep this keep the programs going. So.
Thank you, Jayesh. And Craig, are you able to introduce yourself? Hi, Craig.
Hello, my name is Craig Worrell. I'm a two-time AmeriCorps alum, NCCC and Vista represent. Also tried to do the Peace Corps, did it for a little bit, and then COVID happened. So Peace Corps alum. I've been involved in public service throughout Oregon. Got my master's in public administration, University of Oregon. Have worked in, I guess, Salem, Corvallis, Eugene, kind of all over the state, Portland, and rural communities as well. Big fan of Rare also, which was housed in my graduate program as well. And have been working on AmeriCorps alumni programming since I left, like over a decade ago now. Yeah, and just trying to expand public service nationwide has been a big part of my pursuits and passions. So hope to do that, throughout Oregon and use my skill across different sectors to help people out and make connections, because that's what I like to do. Currently based in Eugene, but I feel like I'm always on the move across the state. But I think I'll be in Eugene for a bit now. So happy to connect with other locals there.
Thank you, Craig. And Carrie, are you able to introduce yourself? Hi, Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie Vandekuvering, she, her pronouns, and I am with Clackamas County. As June mentioned, she was also my boss at one time before she left us to go to Portland.
People's boss.
And I am brand new to the commission. I was hoping to be in person, but I got tasked with a very large project for work. And I work for Clackamas County, and I coordinate volunteer transportation programs. One of them is a AmeriCorps Seniors program. And Carrie presented to us last year at one of our retreats that we have. And we felt it would be a great idea to have one of us represent so we can connect the statewide AmeriCorps seniors with this AmeriCorps.
Oh, thank you, Carrie, for being here. And Mary, are you able to introduce yourself? That nice little Zoom back.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Mary Grussel, and I work with AmeriCorps, the agency, so the federal agency. I'm a federal employee there, and I'm a senior portfolio manager with our West region. And so I have the honor of working with programs across Oregon and the commission. in this role, I serve as an ex officio member on the commission board due to my employment with AmeriCorps. I have been in this role on the board since 2020, and I've been in this role at AmeriCorps for since I was talking to somebody the other day, 2012, I think, when I started with AmeriCorps. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer and also served in AmeriCorps as well. And similarly, want to offer my apologies. I'm also going to have to log off early today, but happy to be with you and thankful for these introductions.
Thank you, Mary. Did we catch everybody? Looks like maybe we did.
Shanika is here.
Shanika.
You were just gonna sneak in?
Yeah, I was just gonna sneak in and just say hello and not say
Surprise
anything.
people later.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, hello, I'm Shanika, commission member. Well, was there anything else that I missed?
The role you're in, what do you do?
Oh, okay. I work for the state of Oregon. I work for ODHS. I am a community partnership coordinator for District 10. So I bring a lot of resources to our families that we're serving. If we can't find those resources, then that's where my team comes in. We are hunting to get those. I've been with ODHS for about a month. Sure, it's been a month. It's been a long month. I used to work for ODHS 2 years ago, so I got rehired last month, and it's been a good time. I'm glad I got to be here today.
And this is your second round on the commission.
Yes, this is my second term. Oh my god.
Did you mention you were an alumni already?
Oh yeah, also I'm there for alumni. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate that.
So many alumni on the board, the commission. That's great. All right, so just a quick agenda review. We have a few business items to take care of next, but then after that,
Hey, Heidi,
yes.
I think Daniel just joined us, didn't he?
Oh,
Daniel. Hi, Daniel. We just did a quick round of introductions. If you want to introduce yourself, as well as how long you've been on the commission, a little bit about you, and what role you fill on the commission.
Buenos días, everyone. Daniela Altamirano Hernandez. I use they, he, it pronouns. I've been on the commission now for a number of years. We'll leave it at that because I don't know the exact number. I think we're going on 4 or 5. And recently I've been elected to serve as vice chair along with Heidi. So super excited to do that. And I am an AmeriCorps Vista alum. And I served in the Portland metro area with PCC in the Hillsborough School District. And now I do community-based social work as my profession. And I think I might have seen, did someone else sneak in also right after myself? Is there any names that y'all don't recognize that didn't do an intro? Otherwise, thanks. Good to see you all. Sorry I couldn't make it. Today's not my day. My car broke down this morning. And then everything is just a little delayed today, but happy to see you all.
Well, we're glad you're here. And just think of it this way, Daniel, it's Friday. So hopefully that's
going on. Miranda's not here because her car issues. I had car issues, so I was late this morning. Susan had car issues. And now Daniel.
all right.
Quick
little review of the agenda. We've got some brief business items and then informational item progress report with our state service plan. We'll take a little lunch break, and then it's exciting. We've got some guest presenters today. And then also we'll sort of finish with some discussion items, civic health index and the state service plan development. And so I think moving forward, we'll go into our business items with our board administrator, and we definitely have quorum, so that's great.
Yep, we have quorum. There's no public comment, and in the packet are the September meeting minutes for approval or discussion.
Any discussion regarding the meeting minutes from September? Thank you, Kelly, for putting those together. And if there is no discussion, Do I hear a motion to approve the September meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Daniel. Move to approve the September meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Greg.
Was it?
Greg,
Greg?
second.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. So we'll move forward. Those in favor of approval of the September meeting minutes, say aye or show your hand, however you want to do that. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstention? All right. Approval of the September meeting minutes moves forward. Thank you again for putting those together. With that, we'll move to Ms. Director Carrie Bauer.
Thank you. I am going to present today basically a status report on our 2022-2024 state service plan. As you know, we are due to develop a new one. This is one of the big items that the commission does lead and participate heavily in, and essentially guide our process for this and whatnot, and then make those final decisions for what will be in that plan. There's also going to be later the presentation from Jeff and Cameron around the Civic Health Index. And I think that these two things are going to inform each other. So because they're going to be presenting on that today, I thought it made sense to kind of give this update before them. So you sort of contextualize, think about where we're at, where we made progress, where we didn't, where we might want to, bring some things in to the next one and whatnot. And then I've also got some discussion questions for us to, after we've kind of heard from them and taken a break and process that, to discuss, so that we can maybe just have some idea about, I guess I'm sort of looking for thought partnering from you all on how we might bring these two things together and have them inform each other. So this is just going to be sort of a part one, and then I can answer more in-depth questions, or we can talk about some of the progress more in depth in that second session. Let's see, I have weird stuff showing on my computer right now to start the slideshow, so just give me a second. And I'm wondering, do you actually need to show it?
Are you joined in the Zoom?
No.
Oh,
I just realized I haven't been doing it. If you don't mind pulling it up, then hold on.
I have it open, Carrie. If I'm able to share it, I don't know.
oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, if everyone should be able to share. So if you already have it up, that would be super important.
Who are you asking to do that?
Heidi just offered.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
Anyone, if you want to go ahead and just put it in the chat, that'll probably help too. Oh, Heidi, okay, sorry. Let me pause for a second. It's a different document. I'll just get into it. Second. Yeah, I don't know if you can just pull it. No. But I can also do
Is it in an email?
So just so I'm not duplicating sound, do I just say don't join computer audio? That's what I tend
Right.
to. Okay. So hopefully this will work.
Yeah. How do I share? The little green button on the bottom, where it says share. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for your patience with me. I'm just gonna do this a little differently. Okay. Are you seeing that? Yep. Okay. All right. I'll skip the lead in since I just skip all that time. Okay, so really quick, just want to basically, for a lot of people that aren't aware of what the state service plan is, kind of explain what its purpose is, why we do this, how we utilize it. Just go over a quick recap of our past development process, talk about our focus areas and goals, and then share some pretty cool stuff that we did get, achieved and we were able to meet, but then also highlight some challenges that are pretty much the same things across the board. So I'm going to sound really repetitive as to what the challenges are with this, or why, with some of the barriers that we've hit. So just in case you aren't familiar with the state service plan, essentially the state service plan is a 3-year vision for our state's plan or roadmap for supporting and expanding national service, volunteerism, and civic engagement in the state. So it's really saying what our infrastructure is going to look like for that, what our priorities are, what our goals are. And as you can see sort of on the left part of the slide here, we're going to make sure that we do that being very inclusive and engaging with the community and making sure that we're representing the community's needs and desires and including them in this process, having them lead this process in many ways. And so this is, not only part of the statute through the National Community Service Trust Act, but it's just our ethos for how we would approach development of this type of a document or plan. In the past, the way we did this, and I guess the context I will give is that over the years, it's kind of been done a lot of different ways. There's not a specific format that the AmeriCorps says we have to do it in, like it has to be this long and this extensive and da-da-da. So you'll find that some commissions really extensive. You'll find other ones that might just be a couple of pages and it's really brief. And so I think in the past with Oregon Volunteers and Capacity and so forth, it generally was pretty brief. We've been really trying to ramp it up, I think, over the last several years. So the first one we did, I guess 2017-18, we sort of just updated what we had. And then this second one, which is the one that you've got now, is where we really wanted to step it up and continue to get towards the process that we want to be moving towards, which is to have it be more extensive in depth and more inclusive of the different communities. And so what we did is we contracted with Coraggio. We formed a steering committee that we kept it, due to capacity at the time, we kept it to pretty much commission members and staff. Because we did only have sort of so much capacity to sort of manage a bigger process. We relied on both current data collection processes and then past ones. So we had actually participated in a commission ROI project, return of investment project, that with I think 5 other commissions, that was a research paper done through our national association. And that involved actually interviewing a lot of different community groups, so national service programs, other branches of AmeriCorps, volunteer centers, all kinds of groups to sort of see, where are we hitting the mark, where are we not, what would you like to see us do in the future, where could we, support service in the state. We also had some community conversations that had occurred previously that still had a lot of good data, relevant data. And then we did some surveys and also had online focus group sessions. So we sort of, combined the multiple, or took advantage of the different data sources that we had. We then looked at the different themes, identified some priorities, some needs that were really becoming pretty obvious when we looked at all of that together, and then issued a final report. And some of the key findings that I wanted to bring up are right there on the right side of the slide for you, which is that, and no big surprises here, and continue to still be, I think current one is that rural regions of the state are often overlooked. So they have expressed, many from those regions have expressed that they're not part of the statewide processes, that their needs aren't maybe being communicated up, but also information isn't trickling down to them, especially in the area around emergency response. That was something that they felt, we heard time and time again, that this was a huge need area. The other one being that national service in Oregon needs greater visibility, which is, you know, we've made a lot of strides with that, but that continues to be the case. And I think especially having transitioned through three different state agencies and moving and whatnot. And, for people that may not know, when we came from PSU, some of our staff were from PSU. When we transitioned out of Oregon Housing, but our location was at PSU. I know that's confusing. Oregon Housing was our fiscal agent. And then we moved down to here. We couldn't bring PSU staff with us. So when we transitioned from PSU to here, I was the only employee and was the only permanent employee for quite a while. And so, things were put on the back burner or delayed or this or that, or we had to sort of, not do some things and really focus on some other things. So that I think affected visibility and sort of, had some partnerships sort of like fall, discontinue for a little bit there. That community organizations, especially BIPOC serving or led, need greater support. This is a big focus area of ours as well, and one that I think we'll see continue into the next one, but that we know that a lot of communities that are either BIPOC serving or organizations that are BIPOC led tend to be under-resourced. I think it's something like receive something like 60% less in philanthropic funds than white counterparts and whatnot. And so there's capacity building needs that exist there. And when we're talking about expanding access to service, any of the types of services, that those are the barriers, is that, the resources there's resource support that needs to be built up there. Professional development opportunities and resources needed for the volunteerism sector. We heard time and time again, when are you going to start doing your volunteer services stuff again? When is the Governor Volunteer Awards coming back? When will you resume trainings, or will there be any grant making? Or again, that is another area where we saw rural regions saying, if you're in Portland and you're nearby, Nova or this or that, you'd be able to access like volunteer management 101 and 102. But if you're in a different part of the state, you don't necessarily have access to those different kinds of trainings and professional development. There's also the case that there's a lot of online tools, software, and so forth that maybe rural communities wouldn't be able to afford on their own. So some resource development is greatly needed there, some sponsorship in that area. The other thing is the cost of living, housing costs, all of those different things are really impacting our national service programs in an incredibly negative way. It's very difficult to get by on a living stipend from AmeriCorps in Oregon and on the West Coast. I remember our old chair, Josh, back in the day, he served in San Francisco, and I've always thought, how did you manage that? Even back then, so expensive, but here we are now caught up in those housing costs, and we're seeing, that's really, really negatively impacting enrollment and attention. And something that I want to share really quick is that I looked at the data for the last 10 years, and in 2013, which was also the year that cited where there was a huge jump in housing costs after the crash, there were 7,800 members serving in Oregon with all the branches. And now we're around 2,000. So that's quite the difference in 2 years of members on the ground in Oregon. And obviously there could be correlation there. Another thing is that statewide data collection is needed to tell the story of service in the state, which I think is really great that we're doing the Civic Health Index. This is exactly, what we're trying to accomplish here. But prior to that, there hasn't been any real big, I think, data collection or analysis or research around the state of service. We rely on what we get from other sources, and being able to tell that story more, to be able to raise the voices of others in the community to tell the story is something that is needed. And then that we have an opportunity to create a strong alumni network. It's an area where we haven't been able to invest a lot due to capacity, but we know that Oregon, we have just so many people that follow and believe in that ethos of service in the state. I think we actually are the state commission with the highest amount of alumni on the commission. It's very common that people have served in AmeriCorps and Peace Corps and whatnot. And so we have a great network there to build stronger relationships with and incorporate into our activities on. So those are generally the key findings. The sector themes that we saw that
I'm sorry, we had a question for you on that last slide from Liz asking if the focus groups included Oregon AmeriCorps program staff when developing the plan, or if they were just brought in for the data collection process.
If you mean on the steering committee, I do believe that there was a program representative on the steering committee, but they participated and were invited into the data collection parts, focus groups, and then there was extensive data collection through the ROI interviews. Although for the next time for the steering committee, I would recommend that we brought in the participation on who's on the steering committee, so there could be an opportunity for that for sure. So with sector themes, national service, what we heard from people is to expand opportunities, access, and inclusion in national service. We know that there's a lot of barriers to service. We just talked about how about two of them, one being that it's very difficult for people to serve and be able to meet their living costs. But we also know that when there are match requirements for organizations to run an AmeriCorps program, and we are wanting to expand AmeriCorps programs and have variety and diversity and who can run a program, we know that there are community partners who do not have the same amount of resources as others. And so that becomes also another barrier to service. So that those two, we talked about increasing advocacy at local and national levels, furthering statewide coordination, communication, and collaboration, which I think is good to point out for people who may not know. We are, that's really sort of our lane. We're not so much a direct service provider. We're not, I get a lot of calls like, could you give me some volunteers? And I'm like, no, but let me to connect you to somebody that can. But that coordination, communication, collaboration is really our lane where we as a state entity can fulfill a role. And so furthering that and expanding that and strengthening that. And then again, supporting the alumni engagement. With volunteerism, I mean, just everything, bringing back everything we used to do, but within reason. There's some things probably that were, maybe beyond our mission, but really, I think when it comes to that collaboration and coordination, communication, it couldn't be more true here. So collecting data to identify the state of volunteerism really stood out. Increasing training and technical assistance to volunteer service organizations, and then providing resources for recruitment, retention, and recognition. And so those were all the things that I was mentioning around just, communicating, representing their voice, lifting their voices from, especially as we know, those that are typically under-resourced or are not heard. And then more resource development and collaboration for that sector. And then finally, capacity building. And this is just really across the board, hits every single one of the sectors that we're involved in. So supporting that coordination, communication, collaboration, expanding those opportunities, investing in capacity building and resiliency efforts, and then increasing funding and advocacy for nonprofit organizations at the statewide level. So that is sort of where I guess the three ways that we categorized what we were hearing and all the data collection that we had done. So we landed on 5 focus areas, 4 primary ones, and then a 5th one, which is our supplemental goal. It's a required goal to address senior volunteerism in the state. And so I'm just going to go through those quickly. I think some of the questions I might have to hold off until, the next segment, because we will be going offline a little bit for lunch and then opening up to our other presentation. But our first one was strengthening impacts of service, and where we wanted to focus on is that we were going to increase awareness of service opportunities, increase benefits of service, and then promote an equity and reduce barriers to service. And we made a lot of really great strides in this area. We have more to do. I will say that, just assume that I'm going to say that about every single thing. But we made some really great strides in this. We, first of all, we have more staff, which is fantastic. We actually have like 6 staff now, which is amazing. And so we've been able to put some time into some efforts to elevate what we're doing, what our programs are doing. And a big part of that has been through making sure that we're more active and have active social media accounts. We got a new website, which we didn't have for several years. We have been putting out a newsletter. We've done a lot of distribution of promotional materials. We're doing a lot of tabling. We're doing presentations at high schools and tabling at community fairs and down in Pioneer Square for the standard volunteer event that's been going on forever, that big event. And then also college career fair tabling, lots of community presentations with partners. And then a lot more visits with elected officials, as you just witnessed too, that we just were able to, we invited Senator Merkley to visit Metropolitan Family Service, and he came, it was great. I'll have to share pictures out later. I finally got them. So we've been able to do that and really raise that awareness in that sense, which is just really the base level. There's just a lot of things we needed to kind of get back to with you know, having that stuff available. We've also looked at benefits of service. So some basic things like having a partnership with Silver Nest, which is that housing platform. We applied for and got a grant for emergency assistance through the Schultz Foundation. We have been providing Skills Success for free to members, which is like an online class, online learning education platform. We're currently looking at more opportunities for credentialing and credit for service. And one of the things that we are hoping to be able to dig further into is schools for national service. We've also done some things around legislative concepts for hiring authority, and we're going to still keep trying to do that one. So quite a few things, and then participation in a lot of national committees that are, you know, the reason behind some of the changes that do get made. We are able to give feedback to our national association and others who are making recommendations for things that do increase benefits or do reduce barriers. We've also done a lot of targeted planning grant outreach. We were able, in grant making, we were able to take our ARPA funds and do a lot of different rounds of planning grants. So we've got quite a few new programs that are exploring, that received planning grants and are exploring possible programs in the future. And then Madeline and other staff have made some really great strides in looking at our grant making and looking at where we could maybe remove requirements that aren't necessary, that are barriers, looking at more flexibility, different things like not saying your first year you have to have 20 members, which is a pretty big lift if you're a new small nonprofit, but saying, you know, you have 3 years to get up to that. And so just like really looking at ways to make it easier for people to access running an AmeriCorps program. And so just generally streamlining processes and trying to reduce the administrative burden on grantees as much as we can. We also paused in deducting the admin fee so that they had their funding went further. And then the tax-free education award. Woo, woo. That's a pretty big deal. We became just the 6th commission in the country to get the education award exempt from state tax. Which furthers that for members to be able to use that and not have to pay a tax burden. And so that is just totally, you know, because of the amazing work that a lot of people here and online did in sharing their story of how that impacted them, of, you know, guiding that process. So that has just been, I think, an amazing accomplishment. And I always want to brag about that and thank you all for that. But there's been a lot of challenges, capacity. If we had more staffing, more time, we'd be able to probably go further with a lot of these, but we have had capacity challenges. While we have 6 staff now, that hasn't always been the case and hasn't always been consistent. And then legislative concepts and budget requests not moving forward. And again, basically these 3 challenges are going to be on every slide. We have submitted legislative concepts for matching education award, tax-free, matching tuition, increase to the education award, like with a state match the education award. The hiring priority, several other things, funding. Sorry. The emergency relief stuff. We have requested funding to make grants for capacity building for nonprofits. We have also requested budget for positions, and those have not gone forward. And there's quite a few reasons for that. But those restrictions do keep us from really meeting some of these, because those are the obvious steps, they're the natural steps, they're the solutions, and they're things that we're not able to see move forward. Part of that is because, well, I'm gonna hold off on that actually. The second thing is engaging Oregonians and making a difference. This is around volunteerism. And really our goals were everything that I had mentioned earlier: bringing back volunteer awards, recognizing achievements, investing in professional development activities and resources, and reducing barriers. We've got some achievements here, but this is our area where I would say it's the most, we really haven't been able to make a lot of, get a lot of momentum behind. We've been able to put more things on the website for people to access, so we can develop, resources that way, even if we kind of can't go out and do some things. We have acquired 2 volunteer management databases. One is the Get Connected, which is the regular volunteer management database. That's a statewide system that would be for free, that anybody could advertise their positions on. They can track hours, they can issue certificates, they can issue training or track training, all kinds of things. We don't have the staffing to launch it, but we do have it. We have done some trainings and webinars for interested grantees to be able to provide more professional development in that area. So how to run, program or whatnot. And then we've also done a lot of training and webinars for recruitment and retention, supporting members. We've opted into a lot of trainings offered by ASK, our national association, so that we can bring professional resources to program directors. So stuff around developing programs, community engagement, we've done service learning, marketing, all kind of evaluation, all sorts of things. So we've really prioritized making sure that if we aren't directly providing that we're bringing that resource in. But again, the challenges are our capacity. We don't have a volunteer services position to be able to focus on volunteer services and develop the programming, apply for grants, be able to address providing some grant making opportunities that we would like to do, and to launch and maintain and administer the Get Connected system. The Get Connected system is important to us because, again, we've heard that a lot of rural communities they don't have their own system. They don't necessarily have a way to broadcast their openings and so forth, and could really benefit from that software. We have put forth several times volunteer services position again as a budget request, and we've not gotten that. So this, again, is an area that is sort of, I think, the place where it's the weakest for us to have really made some achievements there. I'm not letting go. We're going to make it happen one of these days. Foster ready and resilient communities. This was around our emergency response responsibilities. For those that aren't fully aware, well, you're probably aware that AmeriCorps is very active in disaster, as well as this is such an important role with volunteerism for local communities, really relying on their volunteers when there is a disaster or a crisis. That's a huge resource for response and recovery. And we are a responding partner within the state's emergency response plan that ODEM, Oregon Department of Emergency Management, maintains and develops. And our role there is to develop and coordinate resources for the national service response to disaster, as well as to develop resources for coordination of spontaneous volunteers. So in this case, we really wanted to focus on providing resources, strengthen partnerships, and coordinate that national service response. And we've had a lot of really great work done in this area. one of the things that I think specifically when you go back to the first part around making the commission and so forth more visible, I received an invite to participate on the Legislative Disaster Authority Task Force that Representative Evans had pulled together and was looking at essentially developing new statute and funding sources for emergency response in the state. And I served as the volunteerism committee co-chair with Rep. Gomberg, and I think that that invite specifically was because of some of the visibility that we've been able to create, and so I really appreciate everybody's work on that. We also were able to launch Orbit, which is the other volunteer management database I mentioned. That is basically a software, online software that is for free for management of emergency response volunteers. So this is a huge resource for COADs and VOADs and so forth, and community organization volunteer managers to use to recruit volunteers, manage them, track. They can track to send in further FEMA forms for reimbursement and do all sorts of things. So that has been launched and is really gaining ground. There's quite a few volunteers that have been signed up, and I think something around, I think it's around like 30 right now.
I think
COADs and this and that.
35 organizations.
Yeah, that organizations that are signed up. There's been a lot of tabling and outreach across the state. And a few other cool things going on is that ODEM, we're in the middle of, or in the process of developing an MOU with them so they can actually help us administer that. And as well, and then we have an MOU getting signed with NCCC for response in the state. So a lot of really cool stuff happening, and just, really continuing on with that work. I think with the climate core work that's happening as well, there's some plans for also maybe seeing where that might like tie into all of this, because there's the wildfire response and different things like that. So there might be a chance either there and through ODEM to sort of see this more like set up as at an enterprise level, because ideally we'd like to see it used across the board with the other segments of the emergency response plan at ODEM. But we do have some challenges here as well. They're the same ones I've already mentioned. Permanent commit positions, legislative concepts, budget requests not moving forward, and then some coordinated response gaps. So as I mentioned at the last board meeting, last commission meeting, this position as well as our fiscal and compliance position are funded by ARPA, which expires this year. And so we have made requests for budget authority to continue those positions, to receive state funds, to receive those, and that didn't go through. And this is where I'll kind of mention what's going on there. There's a few different things for context for later to think about as well. One, there is similar to the Fiscal Responsibility Act that was put in place in the federal government for 24 and 25. The same thing is happening at the state level, where there is a cap on budget requests that state agencies can make. So that kind of gets eaten up by inflation and, just general like increases of operational costs and so forth. So really that, and kind of a, I think, direct request to not look at submitting new positions or new programs and so forth. There's really an edict of looking at like really streamlining and sort of seeing, where you can reduce duplication and so forth. That effort by the governor is put us in a position where we can't really ask for these new positions, both with the cap and with sort of the motto of looking at effectiveness of what people already have within their state agencies. It's also the fact that if there is one, and this is not a diss on anything, but it is just simply the fact that if there is one chance to ask for something that comes out of the hack, it's very likely that that is going to be college and university focused, because there's so many needs in those areas and so many priorities. And it's so we're not, we don't have those same direct lines, or we're not our own entity anymore. We're nested within a larger agency where it's more competitive to make requests and to rise to the top. And it is the pros and cons. We suffered from when we were kind of operating on our own. And in Portland, we suffered from out of state, out of mind. And so it was very difficult. Out of sight, what you know what I'm trying to say. We were in state, but we were not in Salem. out of Salem, out of mind. But it meant that it made it difficult for us to even get kind of our base funding that we have now. And so that was really important for us to move down to Salem and become more within the state agency system. And so we have a lot of benefits from that. But this is something that also comes with it, though. There's a little bit of a con, is that it is much harder for us to sort of, get through and sort of be able to move forward past some of the things that we do have to move forward from, which is approval through a commission and whatnot, to have things go forward. And again, if they're looking at a menu of things, our 7th, 8th position is probably not what is going to end up going forward if only one can. But it does at the same time, while that looks like it's not very important, it is very important to us when we're looking at really serving these communities and bringing things like volunteers and coordinators back and looking at keeping and sustaining these services that we've developed, that we're going to potentially really have to consider what we're going to do once ARPA leaves. So that's a little bit of the story there. And then just coordinated response gaps outside of our control. There is some work to be done around kind of figuring out like kind of who's doing what with response. And I just realized how over time I am. So what would you like me to do?
Was going to give you a notice, Carrie.
Do you want me to pause and
Yeah, well, I think it's fine if we want to tie things up. I know we have guest speakers coming at 10 after. Is that correct? At 12:10?
Yeah, I kind of ate into some of the lunchtime though. So we might be able to ask if they maybe could start at 12:15.
That's what I would recommend. If tie this up and then
Sure.
bump our minutes up 5-10 minutes, that would be great.
Yeah. Do you mind messaging them for that? So then this second to last one, the strategic focus area, commission's position commission, that's as a leader in service. As I said, commission staffing increases have been amazing, increased visibility. We've been able to pilot a lot of new programs. We had the DI work group do a lot of great work and make some great recommendations that we'll talk about later. But again, our to be able to kind of keep building on those things, we do need sustainable staffing. And then our last goal, this is one where I think this was a little weak. And I hope, especially with Carrie's involvement on the commission now, that we will make it stronger. But we did achieve getting Carrie on the commission. So we did achieve that inclusion of seniors program representative on commission. And I think that's what's really going to kind of lead more relationship building and being able to, have their voice represented a lot more in the state service plan. Whereas that it wasn't, we didn't have as much idea of that with the last one. So just some quick reflections. I'll just share this really quick that just for me, like where I came away when I was thinking about doing this and pulling all this together is just how persistent and resourceful and innovative our staff are. That we've got this great resource through our national association, who we just need to be able to kind of get on that path with them. That it does continue to be an issue to implement initiatives with the staff capacity issues. The barriers, as I said, that are pretty big for us are the request process, getting more support from the state, that we have definitely more opportunity for relationship building and engagement to address what I just said around and really kind of utilizing our partners to maybe make some connections that we can't to address some of these. And that also not only is the commission, like AmeriCorps in general, I think underutilized in the HAC, we could be more incorporated into some of the processes that maybe we are, be able to partner more with programs and so forth. But the commission board itself, I think, we have a lot more opportunity to think about how to more effectively use your connections and include some of your ideas and talk more about supporting the partnership building that you would do. And that's that.
Great. And I totally agree. I think there's opportunities here for more collaboration. I think the pandemic made that a little bit difficult in the transition into the HEC, but now that we're a solid part of it, like identifying how we can collaborate and sort of elevate, you know, who we are and what the commission is doing, what OregonServes does, and sort of tap into those different areas. So thank you for that. And having made that funding request, it was hard to sit in that funding request, you know, requesting funds from OregonServes and hearing all of the others and thinking about what are our stories that we can lead with and move forward with to make those funding requests, which, you know, we've got wonderful things happening and stories and impacts that we're making, but like continue to elevate those ongoingly within the HEC and within our circles. So thank you, Carrie. So with that, it's 12:02. Do we want to gather back? Oh, how's 12:20? Give everybody a good 18 minutes. Will that work okay, Carrie and team?
Yeah, I think Jeff and Cameron are okay with that, right?
And we can sort of move our next break around a little bit if need be, and I'll try.
Full screen, so
Oh.
everyone would see.
Yeah, we'll work with that. We'll go offline and come back on at 12:20.
12:20. Great. Enjoy lunch, get a break in, and we'll see you at 12:20.
All right, thank you. Okay, and Cameron just entered the waiting room, so this might be good timing to let him know what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, where's the lunches?
They're just in this room here. Do you want me here? Shall I admit Cameron? You can talk to him. I'll grab the lunches.
Yes.
Okay, here you go.
Hey, Cameron, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, it's Carrie. We're running a little late, my fault. Would you all be okay with starting at 12:20 instead of 12:10?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and hop off and then hop back on a little closer to that. Does that work?
Okay, yeah. Can you let Jeff know?
Yeah, Jeff. Jeff is unfortunately getting his he has an electrical issue.
Something wrong with his car?
Yeah. The long story is he is going to be joining by phone, and so I'm going to be doing most of the presentation, but I'll let him know, and he might not be able to make it. So
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much.
okay.
Bye. We're gonna go offline.
Okay, great.
Do I just do end meeting for all?
Yes, thank you.